All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome. So excited to be with you all here today. This is a dedicated information session to help you all learn all about the Brown Global Summer Program, Mexico City, Sex, Sports, and Urban Space. This is going to be a deep dive. The goal is to get you really excited to know the sort of the basics of what you can expect on this really exciting program, and walk you through all of the logistical details, and hopefully by the end of this, get you excited about applying for the program. Okay, so first, just a brief bit of housekeeping. Just to disclose that I'm recording this presentation and we'll be posting it for on-demand viewing on the program website. So feel free to take notes if you like, but just know that this is going to be up for on the website for viewing. Again, this is a Brown Global Summer Program, one of four programs that Brown is offering. These are fantastic short-term credit-bearing faculty-led summer programs that are being offered during the Brown summer session during 2025. And I'm very, very excited and delighted to be here today with the faculty leader for this program, one of two faculty members that's going to be delivering this program, Elena Shi. Thank you so much for being here today to present with me. I don't know if you want to maybe briefly introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you so much, Chris. My name is Elena Shi, Assistant Professor in American Studies and Ethnic Studies. I have been at Brown since 2014. I started as a postdoctoral fellow in international studies at the Watson Institute. And in 2017, I led the first series of global experiential learning and teaching classes during winter session to Thailand. So this will be my second time leading a class outside of the United States.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And my name's Chris Van Boven. I'm an assistant director of global programs. And I'm here to help guide you through the program admissions process, any sort of nitty-gritty details related to the application, any sort of administrative questions that you all have. I'm sort of your go-to one-stop shop advisor for all of the Brown Global Summer programs. All righty. So just a little bit of an outline of what you can expect here today. We're going to go through the key features of the program, the specific dates of the program, talk through the locations where the program is going to be delivered, talk through the academics, a bit on housing and the meals that are provided as part of the program. We'll walk through the details of the program costs and potential institutional aid and external scholarship opportunities that might be available. And again, as I said, my sincere hope is that by the end of this, we'll have convinced you that this is 100% the way that you want to spend your summer. And we'll talk you through the steps you need to submit your application. Okay, and so with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Elena to talk through the details of this program.
Thank you so much, and welcome again to everybody who's here. Thank you for joining. Thank you for your interest in this class. This is the first time I'm going to be co-teaching this class with my collaborator, Gabby Elise Mendoza, who is the co-director of the Patio Lab at UNAM in Mexico City. A little bit about Patio Lab. Patio Lab brings together the disciplines of social cartography and forensic architecture with the experience, knowledge, and talents of 7 entities at UNAM to transform violence into cultures of peace. Patio is a lab that promotes transdisciplinary co-research led by people affected by gender-based violence, socio-environmental violence, and serious human rights violations. Um, Based on that introduction and based on my own introduction, which is that I am a scholar of anti-trafficking movements around the world. I'm a scholar of migrant rights and sex worker rights. I work with different community-based organizations in areas spanning economic to racial justice. I am not a scholar of sports per se. I personally love to play volleyball, um, but I don't really know anything about soccer, which is kind of the hook. Is that how can we use global sporting events as a way to understand all of the really, really complicated dynamics that surround them. So while we will take visits on this trip to Stadio Azteca, the main site that's pitched for the site of the 2026 World Cup in Mexico City, largely the course is using the themes of the World Cup to explore the tensions and discover productive ways of moving forward through the different things that Patio Lab is working on and the different things that Professor Mendoza and I work on as scholars. Um, so for those you don't know, I think many of you do, the next World Cup is pitched to happen across Mexico, the United States, and Canada in the summer of 2026. So that'll be the summer after the summer that we convene for 2 weeks in Mexico City. And I think anytime you have a lead up to global games, you already see the drastic transformations that take place. I lived and did research in Beijing in the lead up to the 2008 Olympics, and part of my first book addressed the different kind of social cleansing campaigns that aim to quote unquote clean up the streets of Beijing, trying to dispose of migrant workers, of sex work, of different kinds of vice before the games came in. Um, Mexico City is a particularly fascinating place to understand the role of sports because in 1968, the Olympics was held in Mexico City, and that is actually the first Olympics ever that were held in Latin America and the first held in a Spanish-speaking country. And I think 1968 featured very, very prominently into the civil rights imaginaries of people around the world. So we have lots of different kinds of protests erupting at that site. So the overview that you see here explore the impact of major international sporting events on host cities and communities, converse with local community members and community-based organizations and institutions, other students, residents in Mexico City about inequality, justice, and social change leading up to the World Cup. And then we'll also visit key sites of interest that include the large football stadium that the games will be hosted at, in addition to other, relevant museums, markets, pyramids, etc. The dates are June 16th to July 26th, with the in-country program happening on the ground in Mexico City from June 30th to July 13th. Next slide, please. Since I'm faculty in American Studies, the course title has an AMST headline that we usually reserve for the level around the junior seminar, but we welcome students of all classes to attend. It's 1 round credit. There are no prerequisites, and the language of instruction will be English in times where we have a Spanish or non-English speaking speaker. We will also have a interpreter on site to do interpretation across both languages. The pre-travel coursework will be online, asynchronous, and synchronous. Asynchronous work will consist of independent mandatory reading and memo reflections. And together in the pre-travel component, we will find synchronous time together, 2 blocks of an hour and a half long, where we'll gather for Zoom lectures and discussions, and we'll figure out a time that works for everybody. The in-country program from the 30th of June to the 13th of July will be entirely in person in Mexico City, led by myself and Professor Mendoza. And then the post-travel coursework, sorry, you can go ahead. Post-travel coursework is going to be time for you to finish your final assignments. We didn't want to take too much of the time where you were on the ground in Mexico City for you also to be working on your computers, finishing your finals. So we built in a little bit of time on the back end, asynchronously for you to finish the final projects. Okay, thanks, Chris. Oh, we already did this. Okay, so in the pre-travel coursework, we'll have the orientation. We will deal with tons of logistics. We will try to attend to, how to think through ways that we will appropriately and ethically and responsibly travel together. We'll also tackle 2 modules of the course. that hope to understand the foundations of sports, gender, and society, and then a second module on ethical tourism and community engagement. In the in-country program, we were most excited to build around different kinds of community-based projects. The one that has kind of risen to the fore in terms of its possibility is the Museo Universitario Arte Contemporáneo, MUAC, which is the museum through UNAM, has a large archive of the 1968 Olympics and the different kinds of protests that occurred there. We're in conversations with them on how to, as students work with those archives and perhaps consider a digital exhibition that would pair some of the images and archival material from 1968 with the current moment and the different kinds of claims that current community-based organizations, social movement activists have for the by the upcoming World Cup. So we will meet with various community organizations that range from indigenous groups, ecological groups that are concerned with water preservation, groups that are concerned with housing, displacement, and gentrification, groups that are working with migrants, groups that are working on sex work. And through each of these, we will find ways as a class to amplify the different concerns that they have, maybe, if appropriate, paired alongside some of the archival work and the archival material that exists in the different museums. And then, as previously mentioned, we'll have access, adjacent to all of this, to different relevant tourist sites ourselves. These are some images of some of the places that you might see. And so I guess the one that may not be relevant here is just the Brigada Callejeras. That is the largest sex worker mutual aid organization in La Merced, which is a large market kind of near downtown Mexico City. Okay, in terms of the core academic content and assessment, your artist attendance and participation is absolutely vital to all classes, but particularly for travel component classes. It is intense. Having done one of these before, you truly are. You are deeply, deeply immersed 24 hours a day. And so it requires a certain level of like preparation that we hope to have and get on the same page about in the pre-travel component. You're going to have 4 written memos that are due, that are ways for us as faculty to see how you're processing the material, and what, where areas we might need to work together on clarifying course goals or course themes. There will be discussion facilitation that rotates amongst the students. There's going to be a group project and presentation at the end that I kind of alluded to, that's potentially this archival project with MUAC or something else. And then a final research paper that you'll be working on your own once you leave Mexico City.
Okay, I think maybe Elena, I might be able to help from this point forward.
Thanks, Chris.
Fabulous, absolutely. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so moving on into some of the logistics. So for this program, the standard housing arrangement that we will be setting up for students will be in double occupancy hotel rooms with a shared ensuite bathroom, so a bathroom in that double room. In terms of meals, we have meals that are going to be covered by the program and then meals not covered by the program. And so what you can expect on this program is that all of your breakfasts will be included and covered by the program. And then some group meals will be offered as well. And so I believe what we had said is that in terms of those not covered by the program, you can expect to have at least one meal per day that you'll need to pay for out of pocket. And those can range from sort of $10 to $15 per day, 15 if you want to be more conservative in your budgeting. And so want to do a sort of a deep dive into the finances of these programs so you can really understand the program costs, how they work, the kinds of aid that might be available to support them, et cetera, et cetera. So these programs, the costs break down into two broader categories. So you have fees that are paid to Brown, and then you have expenses that you will be paying for out of pocket. And those two combined equal the total cost of attendance. So here's a breakdown. So in terms of the fees that you will be paying to Brown, those include the summer session tuition fee. We'll talk about in a bit. And they also include the global housing, meal, and activity fee. And so right away, I want to highlight here that these fees paid to Brown are the category of fees for which Brown students may be eligible for Brown financial aid support. I want to make really clear in terms of my own role personally, I am not a financial aid counselor, so I'm sharing this information sort of unofficially on behalf of the Office of Financial Aid. For the final official word, you always, of course, want to make sure that you're checking in with a financial aid counselor. But as it's been presented to me, these are the categories of aid that may be, I'm sorry, the fees that may be eligible for Brown institutional support if you receive financial aid at Brown. And then you have expenses that you'll be expected to pay out of pocket. In other words, fees for which there are not institutional forms of aid available. And so these include, most importantly, the airfare. So the round trip flight, you will be responsible for paying out of pocket. As I've already mentioned, some proportion of the meals in country, so one meal per day for the duration of the program. If you need a passport or any visa fees, those will be your responsibility. Books and course materials, though I put a little asterisk here, as I believe there may be a form of institutional support there, which I'll mention in a second. International cell phone service. So as a security measure, we require that students participating on all of our Brown Global Summer programs have the ability to make and receive phone calls in country. So we'll give you an estimated range of what that will potentially cost, and then certainly any spending money for your time in country. I want to make a point here too that there are potentially external scholarships and loans that you can apply for to support these out-of-pocket expenses, and I'll provide some links on a later page to go into this in more detail. And again, in terms of books and course materials, there is, I believe, a program available at Brown to get some additional support for books and course materials. Elena, I'm not sure if you had anything else you wanted to mention on that note specifically. Okay, great. All right, so let's look more carefully to make sure that we are crystal clear on the fees paid to Brown. So as I mentioned, one of those fees is the summer session tuition fee. And that fee pays for 1 credit of Brown tuition. And that fee is the same across any of the Brown Global Summer programs. And it's the amount that you have listed here. And then in addition to the summer session tuition fee, there's the global housing, meal, and activity fee, which, as it sounds, is designed to pay for your housing, activities, and some portion of the meals that are provided for you in country. This fee varies by program, and for Mexico City, that fee is $3,800. So again, and these are the fees for which there may be some portion of aid available. So in the form of what are called summer grants. And so if you receive financial aid during the academic year, you may be eligible for a summer grant, which will potentially enable you to receive full or partial remission of those fees paid to Brown. And so the eligible expenses could include some proportion of the summer session tuition fee and potentially some proportion of the global housing, meal, and activity fee. We work carefully and closely with the Office of Financial Aid to try to make sure that we're coordinating our admissions and commitment deadlines with their communications. The goal here is to make sure that you all will have detailed information about the funding that is available to you to support your program by late February, early March. You'll be contacted by the Office of Financial Aid with information about your specific eligibility. The goal here is so that you can make sure that when it comes time when we ask you to commit to the program, you have all the information at your fingertips that you need to make an informed decision about affordability. Okay. And expenses paid out of pocket. So as I mentioned, probably the most significant of these is airfare. So you'll be responsible. I provided here just as an estimate, round trip airfare from Boston to Mexico City is around $1,000. For thinking about sort of a $15 per meal budget, you can expect to budget around $250 for meals in country. Books and sort of course materials, I put here at $100, though this may be sort of give or take. It's just designed to be an estimate. International cell phone service. So depending on your carrier, this can range anywhere from $35 to $100. As we get closer to time, I'm happy to work with each of you to look at the various options that are available to you to help you decide and work with your carrier. And then we have suggested a recommended amount of approximately $200 for sort of miscellaneous and spending money during your time in country. Okay, so in terms of financial support outside of Brown, we wanted to draw your attention to some external scholarship opportunities. These are just a few that we'd like to highlight. There may be others available that could be used to support either your fees paid to Brown or out-of-pocket expenses. And I've outlined a couple here. You'll also find links to these on the Global Summer Program's website. And these are the GRDI Scholarship, the Benjamin Gilman International Scholarship, and the Fund for Education Abroad. You'll note that especially the Fund for Education Abroad has a deadline that's coming up right around the corner. So we urge you all to just sort of put your names in whatever hats you can, apply prospectively, and just sort of get your name in the running to potentially get some additional support for your programs. We're going to be in short order posting detailed sort of out-of-pocket expense budget sheets to the individual program websites to help you with the budgeting process. So you can start that planning and saving process now. I'll be on hand to again have advising appointments with anybody that wants to go over things in greater detail, as will the Office of Financial Aid. We've been advised by the Office of Financial Aid to make sure that you've got all your required documentation for the 2025-2026 academic year to make sure that your summer grants are prepared to post to your account. And then also the Office of Financial Aid has advised that students may consider taking out loans to support some portion of their expenses. They made clear that technically students are not able to take loans out during the summer for global summer programs because you're not considered to be at the minimum required half-time enrollment. That said, as a workaround, you can consider borrowing loans during the summer 2025 semester to sort of assist with the summer 2025 costs. And so the final deadline for doing that, for applying for those loans, is typically somewhere 2 weeks prior to the end of the spring semester, though you may consider doing that a little bit earlier if you're looking for support to cover the upfront costs, so say flights, for instance. In which case the timeline would be sort of February, March. Again, the Office of Financial Aid will be your go-to source of information on that. Okay, in terms of eligibility, we have designed the Brown Global Summer Programs to sort of welcome the broadest swath of the undergraduate population as possible. So there are no prerequisites for this course. Class year, so undergraduate students from all class years are welcome to apply. I do have an asterisk here just to make clear that if you are a senior, the only seniors who are eligible to participate are those who will have not yet graduated by summer 2025. In other words, so if you are due to graduate in May 2025, unfortunately, you will not be eligible to participate as you will no longer be an enrolled Brown student. But again, in terms of concentration areas, undergraduate students from all concentrations, including those who are undeclared. That's an important difference from semester study abroad. You do not have to have a declared concentration in order to participate on these programs. So first year students in particular are very much welcome and encouraged to apply. Okay, we have designed the online application to be as painless and straightforward as possible. So it's just a straightforward background information form, as well as 3 short response questions. We review applications as they come in, so we urge you to apply as soon as possible. In terms of deadlines, you've got the first important checkpoint coming up, which is our preferred deadline on this Saturday, February 1st. Applications that we receive by that date will be prioritized, though we will, in principle, be accepting applications through the final deadline of March 1. Application links are available directly on the individual program page, or you can look up the program in Brown Study Abroad application portal. You could search by term and you have the program name as follows. If you have questions, I will personally be serving as your main point of contact. You can ask me about any and all things, and then if I don't have the answer, I can point you in the right direction. And of course, you'll find all kinds of information available on the program website. And that brings us to the end of the formal part of the presentation. So what I'll do is I will stop recording now, and we can open things up to an open-ended Q&A. So bear with me here. Okay, and